Mara Dela Cruz and Ryan Al-Farooq looked like the perfect couple. She, the stunning Filipina bride chasing a dream life in Dubai, he, the wealthy architect who promised her forever. But behind their glamorous wedding photos hid a forbidden affair, a family betrayal, and a secret that would turn their honeymoon suite into a crime scene. When love, lies, and loyalty collided, one of them ended up dead, and the other two would spend their lives haunted by the truth no one saw coming.
The Crime Scene presents a new page of crime, a new mystery, a new shock case.
Mara Dela Cruz looked like the kind of bride straight out of a fairy tale. Soft features, radiant smile, her white gown glimmering under the Dubai sunset as the waves kissed the shore behind her. Ryan Al-Farooq stood beside her, proud and certain that he'd found his forever. The crowd of elite guests, a mix of Filipinos and Emiratis, cheered as the couple sealed their vows, cameras flashing, drone shots spinning above the beach like a scene made for social media. Everyone saw perfection that day. What they didn't see was the unease beneath Mara's flawless exterior, the way her hands trembled slightly as Ryan slipped the diamond ring onto her finger. She had dreamed of this life, luxury, stability, a future far away from the crowded streets of Manila, but dreams don't erase doubts. As the night rolled in, the after-party glowed with champagne toasts and expensive laughter. Ryan couldn't stop smiling, watching his bride twirl across the dance floor, unaware that her eyes occasionally drifted towards someone else in the crowd, someone who didn't belong there. The warmth of the celebration masked the storm brewing beneath the surface. The whispers among the bridesmaids, the slight tension when Ryan's younger brother Adrian arrived late and locked eyes with Mara, it all slid by unnoticed. Ryan believed this was the beginning of a lifetime of happiness, but for Mara, it already felt like a cage wrapped in gold. She smiled for the cameras, leaned into her husband's arm, and pretended not to feel the pull of guilt tugging at her chest. The night ended with fireworks over the water, reflecting against the newlyweds' faces like promises of forever. But under that glittering sky, one of them was already keeping a dangerous secret that would soon turn their love story into a crime scene. Ryan Al-Farooq had always trusted his younger brother Adrian, the kind of trust built from childhood memories and shared ambitions. When Adrian flew in from London for the wedding, Ryan welcomed him like a hero returning home. To everyone else, Adrian was the charming best man, the life of the party with that careless grin and expensive taste. But behind those polished manners lurked a quiet tension that no one could see, especially Ryan. Adrian had met Mara months earlier at a Dubai art exhibit while Ryan was busy closing a big architecture deal. She never mentioned who her boyfriend was, and he never asked. There was instant chemistry, the kind that burns fast and leaves smoke long after the flame dies. When Adrian discovered she was engaged to his brother, he tried to bury the memory, but seeing her in that wedding gown made everything resurface like a wound that refused to heal. Ryan spent that evening bragging about how lucky he was to have found a real one, while Adrian's heart sank with every toast. He masked it with laughter and shots, pretending not to notice the way Mara avoided his eyes across the table. Later, when the party quieted, the brothers shared a smoke on the balcony, talking about their future, about family, about trust. Ryan spoke about starting a family, unaware that his brother was replaying the night he first kissed his bride-to-be. Adrian told himself it was over, that he'd never cross that line again. But guilt mixed with desire is a dangerous cocktail, and as the night deepened, both brothers stood under the same stars, one dreaming of forever, the other haunted by what never should have happened. It was the kind of unspoken tension that starts small and ends in tragedy. The morning sun hit the glass towers of Dubai, reflecting a golden shimmer across the hotel's infinity pool where guests lounged, sipping overpriced mimosas. Mara Dela Cruz sat at the edge of a breakfast table beside Ryan, her smile painted on but her mind elsewhere. Ryan scrolled through honeymoon plans, oblivious to the storm building inside her. Every laugh she forced, every glance she stole toward the elevators, carried a secret. When Ryan got up to take a call from a client, Mara excused herself, claiming she needed to freshen up. Instead, she slipped into the elevator, pressed the button for the top floors, and vanished from sight. Room 712 waited, a private suite Adrian had rented under a friend's name. He was already there, leaning against the balcony, eyes dark and conflicted. When she entered, the air changed. The tension was thick, electric, almost dangerous. They didn't speak much, just exchanged looks that said everything words couldn't. What started as a stolen kiss turned into something neither of them could stop. It was reckless, passionate, and wrong, the kind of mistake that tastes sweet until it burns. After an hour, Mara composed herself, fixing her makeup and brushing away traces of guilt. She left the room quietly, walking down the hall like nothing happened. But in a hotel full of staff, cameras, and guests, nothing goes unseen. A housekeeping attendant caught a glimpse of Adrian leaving moments later, his jacket crumpled, expression uneasy. Downstairs, Ryan greeted Mara with a kiss, completely unaware that the love of his life had just shattered their vows hours after saying them. As the day moved on, Mara convinced herself it was just a moment of weakness, something she could bury and forget. But secrets in Dubai's glittering world don't stay buried for long. Khalid Noor had managed five-star hotels in Dubai long enough to know when something felt off. And that morning, the newlyweds' suite gave him that uneasy gut feeling he couldn't ignore. Housekeeping had reported strange movements between floors during the night, and one of his staff swore they saw a man sneaking into a restricted area after midnight. Khalid brushed it off at first. Rich guests always had secrets, but when he reviewed the internal activity logs, a pattern stood out. The honeymoon suite and room 712 had both been accessed around the same time using different keycards linked to the same floor. That didn't happen by accident. He called in Officer Tariq Mansour, a crime scene tech known for being quiet but sharp. Tariq arrived in plain clothes, moving through the lobby unnoticed, pretending to check routine maintenance issues while scanning the security system. They pulled up the surveillance footage only to discover static glitches on two cameras, both covering the hallway that led to room 712. Khalid's stomach dropped. He'd seen plenty of scandals in his line of work, but camera tampering in his hotel meant trouble. Tariq told him to secure the footage backup and not say a word to management until they verified what was missing. He mentioned seeing a familiar figure in the partial frame, a man in a black suit leaving the restricted floor, though his face never appeared clear. Khalid didn't recognize him at first, but something about the posture, the way he moved, nagged at him. He hesitated to report it, thinking it might ruin his reputation if it turned out to be nothing. So they waited, choosing silence over chaos, not realizing those missing 3 hours on the camera would later become the center of a murder investigation that would shake the city's luxury scene to its core. The morning after the wedding celebration, Ryan Al-Farooq woke up to the soft hum of city life outside the hotel's glass walls. Sunlight poured into the suite, glinting off the champagne glasses scattered across the table and the half-eaten wedding cake on the counter. He reached out to feel Mara beside him, but the bed was cold, the sheets untouched on her side. At first he thought she'd gone down for breakfast, but when he noticed her wedding ring lying neatly on the nightstand beside her phone, a knot formed in his chest. He called her name, checked the bathroom, empty. The closet still had her luggage, her perfume still lingered in the air, but the silence was sharp enough to slice through his nerves. Ryan tried to laugh it off, convincing himself she was taking a walk or clearing her head after the chaos of the wedding. But the hours dragged. Noon came and went, and his calls went unanswered. He phoned the hotel desk to ask if they'd seen her, masking his panic behind a calm tone, but the receptionist hadn't. His heart started racing, a quiet dread creeping into his bones. When he checked the security hallway near the elevator, a maid mentioned seeing Mara late at night heading toward the upper floors, barefoot and looking anxious. That didn't make sense. Ryan returned to the suite, pacing, trying to rationalize what was happening. Detective Lina Haddad arrived at the Dubai Marina Grand Hotel just before dawn, her heels clicking against the marble floor as uniformed officers sealed off the scene. The call had come in around 4:30 a.m. A woman found lifeless in an unused suite on the 5th floor. The name on the passport, Mara Dela Cruz, 26, newlywed, checked in just 2 days prior. Lina stepped into room 512, the air still thick with the scent of perfume and panic. The room was too neat for a crime of passion. No signs of forced entry, no broken glass, just the body lying on the edge of the bed, motionless, eyes half open as if caught mid-thought. Officer Tariq Mansour briefed her quickly. No visible wounds except a faint bruise along the neck, and the CCTV on that corridor had gone dark between midnight and 3 a.m., due to a technical error. Lina didn't believe in coincidences. She moved closer, studying the body. There was a glass of champagne on the nightstand, lipstick on the rim, and a silk robe draped across the floor. Everything screamed deliberate. Tariq mentioned that the husband had reported her missing earlier that morning, frantic, claiming she'd vanished from their suite. Lina ordered the techs to collect fingerprints, DNA, anything that could point to who had been inside that room. She noticed something strange. A men's cufflink half hidden under the bed, gold, engraved with 2 letters. A.A. It didn't take long for her to make the connection once she checked the guest registry. There was only one person staying in the hotel with those initials, Adrian Al-Farooq. As the forensic team zipped the body bag and wheeled Mara away, Lina's instincts told her this wasn't just a case of domestic tragedy. It was the start of something darker, tangled in lies, love, and betrayal wrapped in luxury. Detective Lina Haddad sat across from Ryan Al-Farooq in the dimly lit hotel interrogation suite, the soft hum of the air conditioner the only sound between them. Ryan looked wrecked, bloodshot eyes, wrinkled shirt, fingers twitching against the table. He hadn't slept since Mara's body was found, and it showed. Lina studied him quietly, her instincts telling her there was more behind his grief than shock. When she asked where he was the night before, Ryan said he was in their suite, waiting for Mara to return after she went to clear her head. His voice cracked when he mentioned finding her ring on the nightstand, insisting he thought she just needed space. But Lina noticed his hesitation every time Adrian's name came up. He claimed his brother had stepped out around 2 in the morning for a smoke, but his eyes flickered when she pressed for details. She'd seen that look before. It wasn't confusion. It was fear. Ryan leaned back, gripping the arms of his chair, trying to steady his breathing. He swore he didn't touch Mara after midnight, that he loved her too much to ever hurt her, but his hands trembled as if replaying a memory he couldn't bury. Lina leaned forward, sliding a photo of the cufflink found under Mara's body across the table. Ryan froze. He recognized it instantly but said nothing, his silence louder than any confession. The detective scribbled a note in her pad, her mind connecting dots faster than he could speak. Love, jealousy, betrayal, 3 words that never end well when mixed together. As Ryan lowered his head, Lina could almost hear the weight of guilt pressing down on him. Whether it was his guilt or his brother's, she couldn't tell yet, but one of them was lying, and she was about to find out which. Adrian Al-Farooq sat in the sterile interrogation room, his usual confidence stripped down to nervous energy and shallow breaths. Detective Karim Saeed stood against the wall, arms crossed, letting silence work its pressure before asking where Adrian had been the night Mara died. Adrian's story came quick. He claimed he left the hotel around midnight to meet friends at a penthouse across town, stayed there until morning, and had no clue what happened to his sister-in-law. On paper, it sounded clean, but Karim had already checked. The friend said Adrian didn't show up until after 3 a.m., looking shaken, smelling of alcohol, and asking too many questions about what happens when cameras go missing. Karim slid a photo of the gold cufflink onto the table, the one found near Mara's body, engraved with the initials AA. Adrian's composure cracked for a split second, his jaw tightening before he forced a smirk. He said he'd lost that cufflink days ago, but his eyes told another story. The detective leaned in, his tone calm but cutting, asking how it ended up under the bed where Mara died. Adrian's silence filled the room, his pulse visible at his temple. He tried to shift blame subtly, hinting that Ryan had been jealous, that their marriage wasn't as perfect as it seemed. Karim noted every word, every twitch, every attempt at control. The truth was seeping through Adrian's charm like water through glass. His alibi had holes, his timing didn't line up, and now, Physical evidence linked him directly to the scene. As the tension built, Adrian's facade began to crumble, replaced by something darker, fear mixed with guilt. When he finally spoke again, his voice dropped low, almost a whisper, admitting he saw Mara that night but insisting she was alive when he left. It wasn't a confession, but it was close enough to pull him into the storm. Dr. Omar Reyes stood over the cold metal table in the forensics lab, the air heavy with antiseptic and silence. Mara Dela Cruz's body lay still beneath the fluorescent lights, her delicate features frozen in a peace that betrayed the chaos surrounding her death. Detective Lina Haddad watched from the observation window, her eyes locked on every movement as Dr. Reyes began the autopsy. The preliminary report had been vague, no visible trauma beyond a faint bruise on the neck, but Lina knew the truth always lived beneath the surface. As the scalpel traced its path, Reyes noted subtle signs: slight pressure marks on the collarbone, a bruise consistent with restrained movement, and a strange residue around her lips that shimmered under ultraviolet light. Toxicology results confirmed traces of sedatives, powerful enough to disorient but not immediately lethal. The real cause of death was asphyxia, a slow, deliberate strangulation masked to look accidental. Lina's stomach turned when Dr. Reyes pulled a final clue from the stomach contents. Traces of a rare brandy only served at the hotel's rooftop bar, the same one Adrian had been drinking from that night. It wasn't random. It was personal. Reyes concluded the killer had planned every step, mixing the sedative with alcohol before ending it with bare hands. Lina pieced it together in her head: a lover's rage, betrayal, and a moment of loss disguised as a quiet death. Yet something still didn't fit. The time of death didn't match Adrian's story, leaving a window wide enough for another suspect. As Dr. Reyes zipped the body bag, Lina felt that familiar chill crawl up her spine. The case wasn't just about passion gone wrong. It was layered with manipulation, money, and fear. Whoever killed Mara didn't just want her gone, they wanted her silenced. Mara Dela Cruz stepped off the plane from Manila with eyes swollen from crying and a heart full of questions no one could answer. Her little sister was supposed to be living her dream life in Dubai, not lying in a morgue halfway across the world. Detective Karim Saeed met her at the airport, carrying the weight of a case that was turning more complicated by the hour. Nora handed him a small folder of printed screenshots, messages from Mara's private account, ones she'd sent just days before her death. In them, Mara wrote about feeling trapped, about being torn between loyalty and desire, and fearing the fallout when secrets explode. She mentioned both Ryan and Adrian without names, describing one as the man who loves me too much, and the other as the one I can't stay away from. Karim read each line carefully, realizing the messages weren't just emotional confessions, they were warnings. Nora explained that Mara had planned to return to the Philippines after the honeymoon, even applying for a new job and sending money home in small amounts, as if preparing to start over. The picture she painted wasn't of a woman happily married, but of one planning an escape. Karim asked if Mara had any enemies, and Nora hesitated before revealing that her sister had borrowed money under a fake name from a private lender. Ryan Al-Farooq stormed into the hotel manager's office, his patience long gone, his face pale and hollow from sleepless nights. He demanded every security log, every timestamp, every fragment of footage from the night his wife died. Khalid Noor tried to stay calm, maintaining his professional tone, but the tension in the room was sharp enough to cut. He explained that some of the data had been corrupted, a word Ryan didn't buy for a second. When Khalid finally admitted that sections of the hallway footage had been manually deleted by someone with high-level access, Ryan's hands slammed against the desk. He accused the staff of hiding something, his voice trembling between anger and grief. Khalid hesitated, glancing around nervously before reaching into a drawer and pulling out a small flash drive. "Someone left this," he said quietly, sliding it across the table. It was labeled for Ryan. Later that night, alone in the suite, Ryan plugged it into his laptop, his pulse racing. The file opened to grainy hotel security footage showing Mara in her robe, barefoot, walking down the hall at 2:30 a.m. She looked terrified, glancing over her shoulder as if someone was following her. Then she stopped outside room 512, hesitated, and disappeared inside. No one else appeared on camera. The final seconds of the clip showed the door closing slowly behind her, followed by static. Ryan sat frozen, replaying it over and over, searching for a face, a shadow, anything. The more he watched, the more questions surfaced. Why did she go there? Who gave him this footage? And why did Khalid act like he knew more than he was saying? The truth was closing in, but Ryan couldn't tell whether he was chasing it or if it was chasing him. Liam Torres had been living a quiet life in Manila when he saw the news flash across his feed. A Musi, Filipina newlywed found dead in a Dubai hotel. The name hit him like a punch to the chest. Mara Dela Cruz. For a moment he couldn't breathe. They had broken up 2 years earlier, but her memory had lingered like a shadow he couldn't shake. Days later, he reached out to Dubai authorities, insisting he had information that might help. When Detective Lina Haddad met him over a video call, Liam looked worn out, holding his phone close as he scrolled through old messages Mara had sent just a week before the wedding. Her words were panicked, desperate. She told him she felt watched, that her fiancé's family was too connected, and that she was scared of something she'd done. She never said what. Liam also mentioned receiving an anonymous call from a Dubai number days before her death. Someone whispering, "She made her choice." Forget her. Lina listened carefully, jotting every detail. She traced the phone number and found it registered to a burner SIM purchased near the hotel. It was another loose thread in a web already tangled with lies. Liam confessed that Mara had once asked him to help her get fake travel documents so she could disappear for a while, but he refused, thinking it was just cold feet before the wedding. Now, he realized it was something else entirely. Lina ended the call with more questions than answers. If Mara feared for her life before even getting married, then her death wasn't spontaneous. It was premeditated. Somewhere in that mix of love, secrets, and guilt, someone had silenced her. And the voice on that anonymous call was proof that her past had followed her all the way to Dubai. Adrian Al-Farooq sat across from his brother in the family's penthouse, the air between them thick with rage and regret. The police had just released Adrian after hours of questioning, but Ryan wasn't interested in explanations. He had seen the autopsy report, heard about the sedatives, the bruise, the cufflink with Adrian's initials found beside his dead wife. Now, face to face, all the lies they'd both been hiding were bleeding into the open. Ryan's hands clenched as he demanded to know what really happened that night. Adrian's usual confidence had vanished. He looked hollow, eyes darting between guilt and defiance. After a long silence, he finally admitted that he and Mara had met in room 712 earlier that evening, that things had gotten heated, that she'd been upset and wanted to tell Ryan everything. He said she left alive, that he tried to stop her, not hurt her. Ryan's expression darkened, his jaw tightening with every word. The thought of his wife dying after being with his own brother shattered something inside him. In a flash of fury, Ryan lunged, slamming Adrian against the wall, fists flying as years of brotherly loyalty crumbled into raw violence. Security guards rushed in, dragging them apart as blood streaked Adrian's face. Lina Haddad arrived minutes later, watching the scene unfold like a Greek tragedy. She knew the truth was close now. Too many coincidences, too much emotion for it to be random. Ryan stood shaking, covered in sweat, shouting that Adrian killed Mara, while Adrian yelled back that he was being framed. Both brothers were guilty of something, but neither was ready to say what. As Lina ordered them separated, she realized this wasn't just a murder investigation anymore. It was the implosion of a family built on pride, secrets, and one fatal love triangle that would destroy them both. Detective Lina Haddad stood in the forensics lab beside Dr. Omar Reyes as the hum of machines filled the silence. The case had reached its breaking point, but something still didn't sit right. Adrian's confession was messy, Ryan's anger was real, yet neither fully matched the timeline. Reyes handed her the final toxicology results, and the truth shifted again. The sedative in Mara's system wasn't enough to kill her. It was meant to calm, not to end a life. Her official cause of death was cardiac arrest, triggered by panic and emotional shock. Lina frowned, flipping through the report until another detail caught her eye. The traces of alcohol found weren't just any brandy. They contained a synthetic compound used to mask bitterness, the kind used in homemade poisons or manipulated drinks. Reyes revealed something else that hit harder. Bank records showed Mara had recently received large deposits from two separate accounts, both linked to shell companies under the Al-Farooq family's name. It wasn't a love triangle anymore. It was extortion. Mara had been blackmailing the brothers, threatening to expose their family's hidden financial deals if they didn't pay. The motive had flipped. Maybe Adrian and Ryan weren't the only ones cornered. Someone else with access to that money, someone who stood to lose everything, could have stepped in to silence her. Lina stared at the evidence table, the champagne glass, the robe, the missing footage, and realized the crime was smarter than she thought. This wasn't rage or passion. It was calculation. The poison had been slipped into her drink at the bar hours before she ever reached room 512. Someone wanted it to look like a lover's quarrel gone wrong. As Lina pieced it together, one thought chilled her. The person who killed Mara had planned it perfectly, knowing both brothers would destroy each other in the aftermath. Detective Lina Haddad returned to the Dubai Marina Grand Hotel one final time, the case file heavy in her hands and her mind restless with unanswered questions. Khalid Noor, the hotel manager who had been cooperative but jittery since day one, stood waiting in his office, avoiding eye contact as she entered. Lina closed the door behind her and placed the toxicology report on his desk. The truth had finally surfaced, and Khalid was at the center of it. After days of forensic digging, the IT team recovered a backup of the deleted security footage, and what it revealed changed everything. The video showed Mara entering room 512 alone at 2:30 a.m., carrying a half-finished glass of champagne. Minutes later, she stumbled, clutching her chest, and collapsed near the bed. No one else entered. Khalid had found her body hours later but deleted the footage after Adrian bribed him to hide it, fearing he'd be blamed. The sedative in her drink had been self-administered. Mara had mixed the sleeping pills into her champagne, intending to calm her nerves after a night of emotional chaos. Combined with the alcohol, it sent her heart into fatal arrest. Her death wasn't murder. It was accidental, born out of guilt, fear, and exhaustion from her own lies. Lina listened as Khalid confessed through trembling lips, tears forming as he admitted to covering it up to protect the hotel's reputation. The brothers had destroyed each other over something that wasn't even a crime. As Lina stepped out into the bright Dubai sun, she looked up at the glittering skyline that had witnessed so much deceit. Love, money, and betrayal had turned a wedding into a tragedy, and in the end, no one truly won.